It's 4 letters that can make a grown man's heart sink. IPPT, or Individual Physical Proficiency Test. For the first time since 1982, the Singapore Armed Forces mandatory fitness test looks set for a change. The changes are likely to include a new push-up station, a 3.2-kilometer run to replace the current 2.4-kilometer one, and doing away with standing board jump. But some Singaporeans and fitness experts we spoke to feel that changes to the IPPT stations will present challenges.
For the current NSF, right, they actually in the system, if they will have, they actually experience a change, right, it's okay for them. But for reservists wise, they will be restricted to change, you see. Because let's say, for example, you have been doing this for the past 5 months for your reservist life. Then suddenly, no, sorry, not past 5 months, like 5 years of your reservist life. Then for the next 5 years, they say that you're going to change. Your body will be very hard for you to go adapt the kind of change.
Because we have NAFA, and NAFA is very closely related, or it's almost the same, minus the C and reach. So there is this element of familiarity amongst the individuals. So they're used to running 2.4, so the distance is not something that's difficult for them. Standing broad jump, like I said earlier, if you want to change it, maybe consider the standing vertical jump. If you want to choose push-up, then there's all these issues of establishing a proper protocol. Say, for example, how far do you put your arms, and how low do you go, how deep do you go in the push-up, and the fact that you need to maintain a straight back. So actually there are logistical considerations when you're going to administer that, because there are many things to look at if you adopt push-up.
Currently, IPPT has 5 stations: the chin-up, standing broad jump, shuttle run, sit-up, and 2.4-kilometer run. With the addition of the push-up test, should Singapore do away with chin-ups like US and British armies?
Actually, the chin-up will work your bicep muscles and your back. So the push-up does primarily your triceps, your shoulders, and your chest. So it's 2 different tests for 2 different muscle groups. So in my opinion, in fact, I think they should add in a push-up test to the equation to round off the whole test, to make sure that it hits the muscles that it should hit, the major muscle groups in your body.
Push-up will be generally easier if they were to change, but it's actually quite subjective. Some people will actually prefer to do chin-ups, because chin-up you have to do lesser reps compared to, I believe the push-up will not have a lower reps compared to the chin-up.
It will not work in wartime, because in wartime we are definitely required to climb up some obstacles instead of pushing ourselves out of the floor. Correct.
I think if you do it to a push-up type of system, it will be a lot easier. But then again, the pull-up is good in a certain sense, right? It measures a person's ability to be able to climb and pull up, climb a ledge or something. So I think that sort of arm strength is really important.
Fitness experts we spoke to said that the current 5 IPPT stations are good enough to gauge a soldier's fitness.
Essentially, if we look at IPPT, it is to reflect this full definition of physical fitness. So your 2.4-kilometer run is your test of cardiovascular endurance, and then your standing broad jump is a test of muscular explosive power of the lower limb. So that's under performance-related component. And then you've got your pull-up, which is also a measure of muscular endurance and muscular strength. So I think if you understand why or what the definition is of physical fitness and the components, then you understand why IPPT requires you to do those 5 stations.
Even with all the discussions going on the internet, the IPPT, in my own opinion, is still a good gauge for general fitness. Just like BMI. A lot of people say BMI is not accurate. If a bodybuilder has high BMI, doesn't mean he's fat. But all in all, it's still a very good measure for the general population. So same thing with IPPT.
In response to the Straits Times report that the SAF soldiers' IPPT is likely to change, the Singapore Army posted on their Facebook page that there has not been any decision to change the IPPT system and that the current IPPT continues to be valid.